Let's use the butt of the Hanbo for arm locks.
This is the Kitsune clan, a group of sword enthusiasts who like cosplay, reenactment, and historical martial arts. If you have similar interests, feel welcomed.
As promised in one of our last videos, we will explore now how to do arm locks with the butt side of a hanbo that I hold with one hand. And disclaimer immediately, the arm locks that worked well with the long side will not look so nicely with the butt side and vice versa. Which means if we start with angle 1, we would love to use the long side under the arm of the opponent. But we want to use the butt. And that usually means we use the other side. If we do that with an eskrima stick or similar, it's much more fluid than here with the hanbo, because I usually have to lift the hanbo up, strike with the butt, and then hook into the arm. This might not feel too useful at first, but this is now not yet about application. This is now the phase where we derive the techniques from already known ones, and then we can see how they function, and then we can later look for situations where this is useful. So don't scream at me just because it's not immediately self-defense applicable. This is about showing, oh, this is an arm lock that is possible. How do we then in the end really perform it? Yeah, there are two possibilities. Either you just use the butt to hook into the elbow and then use the left hand to grasp the wrist of the opponent and twist the forearm in a certain direction. This might feel unstable because a lot of hanbo is then swinging around free. I often tend to place the free part of the hanbo then against my neck or against my body to stabilize it a bit. Alternatively, it's also possible to use the left hand to grasp the free bit of the butt to lock the arm up. We had that already when we came from the half sword type arm locks, that we would lock up the forearm of the opponent, then usually in a scissoring type motion. Here it's now more similar to holding a sword. We will look in detail at the differences of these different grips, so sword grip, scissor grip, and whatever you want to call these, because there are some slight and subtle differences depending on what you want to do. Here I would more often use the sword grip, but it really depends on the direction of the hanbo. Let's look at this for the other angles as well. As predicted already, for angle 2, this is much more simple to happen, because what happens now, I block, for example, one-handed or two-handed and let go with the left hand. The butt is basically falling by itself into the elbow of the opponent, and I have basically a technique that in Bujinkan would be called Ura Onikodaki, and I can either push with the left hand against the butt or grasp the forearm. This is really, really natural, and this happens very, very easily, and here we can, I think, see immediately that this will have application for a lot of people in different situations. As I also predicted already for angle 3, this will again be much more problematic, but let's further explore our possibilities here with angle 2. To really create force, it's important to also think of your footwork, which means which arm is pushing, where should my hip then also point, which foot should be leading, and in which direction do I have to push my body weight. And you can here very easily see that. That's always the advantage of the hanbo. It will tell you that your back is twisted if the wrong foot is in front, and so on. As predicted, let's move to angle 3, and we will see again the problem, because it's very easy that the long end falls here right into the elbow, very similar to what we just had with angle 2, but we need now to get the butt onto the other side. That often has functions if we do these things with the eskrima stick, angle 1 or angle 3. This can be, for example, used to swipe away incoming attacks with the left hand. So if we think of serrada eskrima and stuff like that, there are functions behind that. Here, for the derivation from the known technique, this might look very strange. Grasping the free butt here with the left hand, I would probably go for the scissor type grip because of the orientation, but everything is possible in this aspect. Here it's also easy. The long downward hanging part of the Hanbo, I said I like to secure it. You can, for example, press with your upper thigh against that and provide additional pressure on the arm, or the arm lock in this case, to further increase the pain for the opponent. If it's a really long weapon, so with a jaw, you could also hook it up on the thigh of the opponent. In fact, it's possible with the Hanbo. It's sometimes a bit cumbersome, and depending how the opponent moves, you would probably then also have to step onto the foot of the opponent so that this one can no longer move. Yeah, there's a lot of things that can still be done that need to be explained in dedicated videos for that stuff. For angle 4, it's of course again kindergarten, because we already know it will be very similar to our situation with half sword position. The arm comes, basically presses the Hanbo in the right direction, and we can just either grasp the forearm of the opponent, and then our stick will probably last on our own forearm, providing a kind of a locked situation here that we can then further exploit. More things to explore in further videos, or we can push against the butt. Very painful. Don't overdo this. I always need to emphasize that. Yes, in real fight situation, arm locks need force, because the opponent will very, very likely not like to have the idea of his arm twisted out of his shoulder joint. But for training situation, the Hanbo is a very, very long lever, and it's easy to injure a joint, to injure tendons and whatever, and especially if you're pressing somewhere, and also if you press the Hanbo, for example, against the bone, this is very, very painful and can also lead to injury. So think of your training partner, and especially if you switch the situation in very short time, think of it, how much pain you want to have and how much pain you want to provide. Of course, you need some pressure testing, but please don't overdo it. So how is it now? We have now a lot of arm locks already, right? Because we have the arm locks from half sword position, and we have, for each of these, we have already 2 follow-up techniques. And we have now the arm locks with the long side, and we have the arm locks with the butt side. So that's quite a bit already, and I can tell you, no, it's not. There's much more to come, and these will connect to long chains that are easy to remember and easy to train. And the question is, of course, do I need that? Do I ever need these arm locks? Yeah. So from my own experience from free flow situations, I use quite a lot of these. I don't use all of these, and I also don't use all of the flavors, so the different variants of these techniques. But especially with the Hanbo often searches its own way into one of these arm locks, and then you are surprised. Oh, there it is. I wasn't looking for it. I did not intend to do that, but it's happening. And that's interesting. And that is, of course, then also an interesting exercise that can be later translated, for example, to weaponless self-defense. If you have this feeling like, oh, force is acting here, and therefore here's a window where I can go in and enter and so on. This is easier with the stick because there's more inertia behind that. It's easier to feel it, and later on this can be translated into the weaponless situation. We know that a lot of martial arts come from this weapon situation, and in the end, I think that in fact most martial arts, even the ones that don't claim to come from this direction, use all these mechanics that have been developed with the weapons, because that's unfortunately our historical reality, that there was a lot of conflicts around the world over thousands of years, and that developed martial arts. And that's of course one of the cool parts that all of us like, that we can enjoy these fighting situations in a controlled environment. We can enjoy all these crazy weapons that have come up. But of course, we are all aware that a conflict that seems to be so much tied to human societies and human histories is still prevailing today. And that's of course a bad sign and not an aspect to enjoy. And this is always also a point where martial arts are seen on the bad side of society sometimes. And I think we really have to step up and make that point clear, that enjoying martial arts is not at the same time promoting violence. And I think that a lot of people that do martial arts are really, really peaceful people, and martial arts helps them to stay peaceful also in their mindset. And I think that needs to be spread a bit more, especially in the weapon-related martial arts like Hanbo-JiTsu. For the moment, I hope we could inspire you, and I hope to see you around next time.